Hi, welcome to PHI and PPE. I am Deanna Otts-Whitfield, your ocean infection control expert, and with me is my lovely counterpart, Amy Wood, the HIPAA cybersecurity guru and know-it-all. Today, Amy, I want to talk about water. Everything water and wet things and bad things that could go on in your office. So, you want to start off?
Yeah, I mean, the big one is natural disasters. I mean, obviously, that's kind of a worst case scenario and affects a larger surface area, for lack of a better phrase. But I mean, they are catastrophic. If you live in a floodplain, you need to make preparations. I mean, I've had clients over the years, they knew they were in a floodplain, and so they would have all their computers mounted up off the floor. So those would be, in areas that were safer. But I mean, there's other scenarios too. We've got the situation. I'm trying to think of. I've had some weird stuff over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess when you've been doing this for a couple decades, you get some things. I had a water heater explode in an office.
Oh, that sucks when it happens at your home, but your office, because think about the equipment that you have at your office.
And the flooring.
Oh, crap.
And when it gets into the drywall next to the flooring.
Yep.
And trying to get people to come out and fix it and assess it and insurance and what if patients are in the office when that happens?
I was having lunch with some colleagues today at the Star of the North conference, and we were talking about things that have happened to us as clinicians, like, incidents that were not our fault, just random accidents. And one of the hygienists mentioned that when she was working on a patient, she was in a lower level of a high-rise building, and there was water that was coming through the ceiling from a flood that was happening above her. She noticed it in the operatory next to her, and all of a sudden she heard this running water, got up to see what was going on, and she turned around immediately, went back to her operatory, and got that patient up and out of the chair, because that water is going to start coming through the ceiling, and it's going to affect the electrical, it's going to cause shock hazards, it's going to cause a whole host of problems. And I just hope that you have your exit signs and your emergency lights ready to go and that they're checked in case you have to get out of that office because you lost power. So you never know when something's going to happen. It can be completely out of your control.
And you don't want to be testing that emergency plan live and in action. I've done that before. So you don't want to be testing it while you're in it.
Right. And we both talk about in our presentations with our clients that you should have emergency action plans. That's an OSHA requirement, but to the effect of natural disasters, and flooding is one of them. And depending in the area where you live, it could be storm related, it could be flood related. You never know what's going to happen, but you have to have some sort of plan in place and some sort of preparation, not only for yourself and the business, but for your team members. And what are you going to do, right? If you are seeing patients during that time and something happens, how are you going to react in those situations?
Yeah. Well, and the example that you gave, I think, is really interesting because that would be more of a multi-floor, multi-tenant office location. And there's a lot of dental practices that are like that.
Right.
And it's not your fault.
Yes.
You did nothing wrong.
You did nothing wrong.
It's not your maintenance or lack of maintenance that caused this.
Right.
So, I mean, I had a situation with a client a long time ago that had that, and it destroyed all the computers in the office. And it destroyed the cabinets and the chairs and the floors and the X-ray sensors. It was in the operatory area.
So
and
much
it just,
expensive equipment.
Oh, yeah.
So
and insurance
much.
doesn't like to pay for all of that.
No.
I even remember this doing IT. We had an office we were working on. We actually called a Native American burial ground.
Oh, my gosh.
It was
Wild.
Everything that could go wrong did go wrong on that job. One of my guys stepped off the elevator with a bunch of equipment and foot right into flooring glue because the flooring wasn't finished yet, and the water pipe in the wall wasn't where it was supposed to be. per code. And when we went to go put a data entry mount in the wall, he hit that and it flooded the bail bondsman that was underneath.
Oh my
and the
God.
guy was super chill, thank goodness. But it does happen.
It does happen.
Yeah.
So many things happen out of your control. Okay, I want to mention a few things that you do have control over. Let's talk about wet areas that are in your office. So let's talk about GFCI outlets. Those are the outlets that automatically trip when they become wet. It is a safety measure that should be implemented into your practice, into your building. And if you come from an older practice and you're grandfathered in, that's one thing. But if you're remodeling and you are changing your outlets, in those wet areas, your sterilization room, your kitchen, restrooms, they should be equipped with GFCI outlets. And that's for the safety of the office, that's for the safety of the people and your staff members. It keeps that electricity current at, it trips it when it becomes wet. So that is a very serious safety issue. And it's also an OSHA requirement for those situations. But also, things happen even on smaller scales. There are tripping hazards, slips, trips, and falls. Something wet is on the floor. You can't always see it. Perhaps you're cleaning something and the floor is wet. You could have a slip, trip, or fall. Or some liquid just dropped on the floor and someone slipped and fell. Well, that's a workman's comp, claim.
That's an insurance claim.
That's an insurance claim waiting to happen. So being mindful of the things that you do have control over. And once again, I always go back to, it has to do with training your staff members, because if they're not able to recognize or see that as a hazard and they're not going to clean it up immediately, well, then you're open to bigger things that could go wrong in the office. So, water, it's not always in your control, but it's, a lot of times out of your control.
And I think with HIPAA and OSHA, we both run into what are our risks and vulnerabilities, and then identifying, is it a low, moderate, or high risk, and how likely is it to happen, and what are we going to do when it does?
Right. So how important is it for you to perform those hazard risk assessments in your office for OSHA infection control and for HIPAA? And it's not just looking at patient safety or patient data, it's looking at your staff safety as well. It's super important to identify those risks and try to mitigate them as much as possible. That's all we're trying to emphasize and discuss here. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on this episode of PHI and PPE. And stay tuned. We're going to be talking about a lot more interesting little subtopics like this that you probably don't think about.
Stay dry out there, folks.
Thank you for joining us. For more information, please go to www.copperpennyconsulting.com. Bye.